Hey, there. Tonight step back with me. It's 480 BCE. You're not reading about history, you are in it. The August sun beats down on your blistered hands as you grip a salt-crusted oar. You're 23 years old, an Athenian citizen who 3 months ago was a potter. Now you're a rower on a trireme called Nemesis, and tonight I'm going to tell you about 3 days that nobody remembers, but should. You've heard of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans died gloriously. You've heard of Salamis, the famous naval victory. But between those stories lies a forgotten battle, Artemisium, where 200 Greek ships held back 700 Persian vessels for 3 brutal days. No glory, no monuments, just bleeding hands, splintered oars, and the cold knowledge that if you break, Greece drowns under Persian waves. So dim the lights, get comfortable. Let me walk you through those forgotten August days when you helped save Western civilization, and nobody bothered to remember your name. Comments below, tell me where you're watching from, what time it is there, and remember, this isn't just history, this is your story now. You were there, you bled there, let's begin. You wake before dawn in the cramped rowing deck of the Nemesis. The smell hits you first, 200 unwashed men, stale seawater, and the sharp tang of pitch that seals the ship's planks. Your back aches from sleeping on the narrow rowing bench. Around you, other rowers stir, groaning softly. Nobody speaks much this early. The wooden hull creaks as the ship rocks gently in the straits between mainland Greece and the island of Euboea. Through the oarports you glimpse the first gray light touching the water. The straits here at Artemisium are narrow, perfect for the Greek fleet to block the Persian advance. Your trireme is one of roughly 270 Greek ships. Intelligence reports say King Xerxes commands at least 600 warships, maybe 700. The math doesn't favor you. You reach for your water ration, a small ceramic cup already half empty. The water tastes of the clay vessel and your own fear. Your hands are wrapped in rags to prevent blisters from yesterday's rowing drills. The rags are already stiff with dried blood. This is your first real campaign. 3 months ago you were shaping clay pots in Athens. Then the assembly voted every able-bodied citizen to the ships. You knew which end of an oar to hold. That made you qualified. The trierarch, your ship's captain, moves between the rowing benches, checking equipment. He's an older man, maybe 40, with scars crossing his bare shoulders. He nods at you without warmth. You're a number to him, one of 170 rowers who must move as one or die together. Above deck, you hear footsteps. The helmsman and the lookout, probably, scanning the northern horizon for Persian sails. The rowing master appears, a heavily muscled man named Dromon, who served in the last war against Aegina. He carries a leather strap, his symbol of authority. On your feet, dogs, he growls. The deck comes alive with movement. You stand, nearly hitting your head on the low ceiling. The rowing deck is only about 5 feet high, just enough space to sit and pull. Dromon walks the central aisle, his eyes scanning each man. The Persians were spotted at dawn, 70 stades north. Their advance ships will arrive by mid-morning. A stade is roughly 600 feet. You do the quick calculation. They're maybe 8 miles away. Fear ripples through the deck, like a physical thing. You've trained for this, but training and reality are different creatures. Dromon stops in front of a young rower 2 benches up, a boy who can't be more than 18. What's your name? The boy stammers. Clayt, son of Dromon, cuts him off. I don't care whose son you are. In battle you pull when I tell you to pull. You stop when I tell you to stop. Nothing else matters. Understand? Claytos nods, pale-faced. Dromon continues down the aisle. When he reaches you, he pauses. His eyes assess you with the cold efficiency of a man who's seen hundreds die. Potter, right? You nod. He grunts. Potters have steady hands. Good. Keep them steady today. He moves on before you can respond. Above you hear the crew assembling. The deck marines, 14 hoplites in bronze armor, who'll fight if it comes to boarding. The archers. The officers. Your world is here, below, in the half-dark, where the battle will be won or lost by men no one will remember pulling oars in perfect rhythm. Breakfast arrives, hard barley bread, and a handful of dried fish. You force yourself to eat, though your stomach protests. The bread is so hard it scrapes your gums. The fish tastes of salt and nothing else. Around you, men eat in silence. Some pray quietly to Poseidon, god of the sea. One man vomits his breakfast almost immediately, earning curses from those nearby. The smell doesn't help anyone's appetite. Philippos, the rower beside you, is 40 years old and fought at Marathon 10 years ago. He chews his bread methodically, eyes distant. First battle, he asks quietly. You nod. He considers this. The waiting is the worst part. Once the rowing master starts the rhythm, your body takes over. Don't think. Just pull. You want to ask him more. How many battles he's seen, whether the fear ever goes away. But he's already turned inward again, chewing his breakfast with the mechanical efficiency of a veteran. Above deck, you hear the officers arguing about formation. Someone wants to retreat back to Salamis. Someone else insists you must hold here. The Spartans at Thermopylae are buying time with their blood. If the fleet withdraws, the Persian army will have free passage down the coast. The fleet must hold. Must. You finish your bread and tuck the remainder of your dried fish into your belt. Food might be scarce later. Through the oarport beside you, the water has turned from gray to blue as the sun rises. Beautiful, really. Strange to think something so beautiful might be your grave by sunset. The lookout's cry shatters the waiting. Sails. Northern horizon. The deck explodes into controlled chaos. Drummond's voice booms. To positions. Orient oars. You scramble to your bench, heart hammering. Your hands find the oar, automatically. 3 months of drilling have made it instinct. Around you, 170 men move as one organism, each to his designated position. The 3 ranks of rowers, the upper Thranites, the middle Zygites, that's you, and the lower Thalamites, all settle into place. The ship's musician takes his position at the center, his flute ready. He'll set the rowing rhythm. Your life depends on matching his tempo exactly. Pull too fast, you break formation. Too slow, you create drag. Either way, you die. The triarch climbs onto the small raised platform at the stern, where he can see everything. His voice carries through the ship. Men of Athens, men of Greece, today we hold the line. Today we prove that free men fight better than slaves. It's a good speech, short and practical. No one has breath to waste on poetry now. Through your oarport, you see them. Ships, so many ships. The Persian fleet is a forest of sails spread across the northern horizon, darkening the water beneath them. They're larger than Greek triremes, higher-sided, their crews visible as dark masses on the decks. Someone behind you whispers a prayer. Someone else curses. You just stare, your mind struggling to process the scale. 700 ships, maybe more. How do you fight that? The Greek fleet is forming up, triremes maneuvering into a line. Your ship takes its position in the center of the Athenian contingent. The musician begins. A single clear note from his flute, then the rhythm ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. Drummond's voice joins it. Stroke, 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 stroke. You pull. The oar bites water, and the nemesis lurches forward. 170 men pulling as one. The ship accelerates with shocking speed. This is what triremes are built for, this explosive burst of power. Your muscles burn immediately. The rowing motion is total body. Legs push, back pulls, arms finish. Again, again. The rhythm is everything. You watch the rower in front of you, matching his motion exactly. The Persian fleet has split into squadrons, moving to envelop the Greek line. They have numbers. You have position. The straits here are narrow enough that they can't bring their full force to bear at once. It's the only advantage you have. Through your oarport, you catch glimpses, Persian ships trying to turn, Greek ships ramming, the sea churning white with froth. But you can't focus on that. Your world narrows to pull, release, pull, release. The oar is heavy, so heavy, heavier than you remembered from drills. The ship lurches. You've been rammed. No, you've rammed them. The bronze-sheathed ram at the Nemesis's prow has punched through enemy timber. You hear splintering wood, screaming, then the Triarch's voice. Back oars, back oars. The rhythm reverses. Now you're pulling backward, trying to free your ram from the enemy hull. The oar fights you, the water resisting. Your shoulders scream. Around you, men grunt with effort. The ship shudders, then breaks free. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time loses meaning in the rowing deck. Pull, release, pull, release. Your hands are numb, which is better than the pain. The blood from your blisters has soaked through the wrappings and made the oar slippery. You grip harder. The man 2 benches up, Cletos. The young one has passed out, slumped over his oar. No one stops rowing to help him. Can't. The rowing master steps over his body, doesn't break rhythm. Another man will take his position if he doesn't wake. The Nemesis has rammed 3 times now. Each time, that sickening crunch of wood, the screaming from the enemy deck, then the desperate struggle to back oars and break free, before their ship's sinking weight drags you down too. Once, a Persian ship tried to ram you in return. The helmsman turned at the last second, and you felt their ram scrape along your hull with a shriek of tortured wood. Close. Too close. Through your oar port, you glimpse a Greek trireme, with its side staved in, men spilling into the water. They wear armor, bronze breastplates that will drag them straight to the bottom. They thrash briefly, then disappear. You pull your oar. Can't. Think about that. Pull. The water outside your port is no longer blue. It's clouded with blood and debris, shattered oars, splinters of hull bodies. You stop looking out. Better to watch the rower in front of you. His rhythm is still steady. Match him. That's all that matters. The musician's flute stops. The sudden silence is shocking. Your oar drags in the water, and you realize you're still pulling even though the rhythm has ended. Around you, men slump over their benches, gasping. Some vomit from exhaustion. You just sit, shaking, unable to process that you're still alive. Dromon walks the aisle, assessing casualties. 3 men dead, heart failures during the rowing. Cletos is still unconscious, but breathing. 11 men with torn muscles, unable to continue. The rowing master notes each one, his face expressionless. These are acceptable losses. The ship is still battle-ready. Someone passes fresh water rations. You grab yours and drink half in one desperate gulp before forcing yourself to stop. Have to save some. Your throat is raw from gasping. Your hands. You look at your hands properly for the first time in hours. The skin is shredded, hanging in strips. You can see muscle underneath in places. Strange, but it doesn't hurt much. Shock, probably. You know you should re-wrap them, but you can't make your fingers work properly. They just tremble. Philippos beside you is breathing hard but seems otherwise intact. He catches you looking at your hands. Without a word, he pulls clean rags from his belt and starts wrapping them for you. His own hands are just as bad, but they're older wounds, more scarred. He's done this before. First day's always the worst, he says quietly. Tomorrow your body will know what to expect. Tomorrow. The thought of doing this again tomorrow makes you want to weep. Night falls. The Nemesis anchors in a small cove on the Euboean coast, part of the Greek defensive line. You're allowed on deck. Rotation system, half the crew at a time, so the deck doesn't get overcrowded. Your legs nearly give out when you stand. The rowing deck is 5 feet high. The deck is open air. The difference is staggering. You gulp in clean air, air that doesn't reek of sweat and blood. Stars overhead, thousands of them. You'd forgotten stars existed. The Greek fleet surrounds you, maybe 250 ships now, some lost in today's fighting. To the north you can see the Persian campfires. So many fires they look like a second sky reflected on the water. Someone says they lost maybe 30 ships today. 30 out of 700. You did almost nothing. The Triarch addresses the deck crew. Tomorrow they'll come again, and the day after. We hold for 3 days. That's the order. 3 days to give the army time to evacuate Athens if Thermopylae falls. If Thermopylae falls. Everyone knows it's when, not if. 300 Spartans and their allies can't hold forever, but they can buy time. That's what this is. Buying time with blood. Your blood. You sit on the deck, legs dangling over the side, and stare at those Persian fires. 700 ships. How do you fight that? How do you fight a force so vast it looks like the stars themselves have descended to crush you? Beside you, a sailor starts singing, low, mournful, a hymn to Poseidon. Others join in. You don't know the words, but you hum along. It helps. Dawn again. Day 2. Your hands are worse, swollen, hot with infection. Philippos shows you how to piss on the wounds. Cleanse them, he explains. The humiliation is offset by desperation. You do it. It stings savagely, but maybe it helps. Maybe. You wrap them again. Your fingers clumsy and stiff. Breakfast is the same. Hard bread, dried fish, water. You force it down. Your stomach rebels, but you keep it down. You'll need the strength. The Persian fleet appears at dawn just like yesterday, but today they're different, more cautious, more organized. Yesterday they underestimated the Greek ships. Today they know what they're facing. They form into a crescent formation, trying to envelop the Greek line from both flanks. The Greek strategy remains the same. Hold the center, prevent encirclement. Your ship takes position in the same spot as yesterday. The musician's flute begins. Ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. You pull. The pain in your hands is immediate and absolute. No numbness today. Every stroke is agony. The oar is slick with blood and pus from your reopened blisters. You pull, anyway. Around you, men grunt and curse. Cletos is back at his bench, pale but conscious. He meets your eyes briefly. You both know what this day will cost. The Nemesis rams an Egyptian ship. You can tell by the designs painted on their hull. The impact is harder than yesterday. Something in your back snaps, not breaks, but tears. A muscle, maybe. You gasp, almost release the oar. Can't. You brace through the pain and keep pulling. Mid-afternoon, day 2. The Persian fleet has changed tactics. Instead of rams, they're trying to board. Their ships are higher-sided than Greek triremes, giving their soldiers an advantage. A Persian ship pulls alongside the Nemesis. You hear fighting above. Screams, metal on metal, bodies hitting the deck. The ship rocks violently. Keep rowing. Drummond screams. Keep rowing, or we're dead. You pull. The ship lurches. Someone crashes through the overhead grating. A Persian soldier in scaled armor. He lands hard on the rowing deck, directly in the central aisle. He's stunned, but recovering fast. The rower nearest him, a Corinthian named Bias, releases his oar and lunges. He has no weapon, just his hands. He grapples with the Persian, and they tumble between the benches. The Persian has a dagger, Bias doesn't. You watch, still pulling your oar, as the Persian stabs Bias in the gut. Bias screams. The Persian tries to stand, to move forward, to kill more rowers. He doesn't get the chance. 20 oarless hands grab him. The rowers behind can't reach their oars with him in the way. They pull him down. You hear bones snapping. His screams cut off abruptly. Drummond doesn't pause. Next man, take position 4. Someone scrambles over Bias's dying body to take his oar. The rhythm continues. Above, the fighting intensifies. Then, abruptly, the Persian ship disengages. You're alive. For now. Bias bleeds out over his bench, while the man in his position rows, the new rower's feet slipping in blood. Day 2 ends with the sunset. The Greek fleet has lost more ships, maybe 40 total now. The Persians have lost perhaps 60. The math still doesn't favor you. Tonight, you're too exhausted to go on deck. You slump over your bench and fall into something that's not quite sleep. You dream of rowing. Of course you do. The rhythm is burned into your brain. Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. You dream of oars that turn into snakes, slippery and impossible to hold. You dream of rowing through blood instead of water. You wake gasping several times, each time shocked to find you're not actually rowing. Sometime in the night, Bias dies. They drag his body out. By morning, there's a new man in his position, a replacement from Athens, ferried out with fresh supplies. The new man is terrified, his eyes showing too much white. He's never rode in combat. He doesn't know what's coming. You want to warn him, but what would you say? That everything he fears is true, and worse, that the pain never stops. It just becomes normal. That he'll watch men die, and keep rowing over their bodies. You say nothing. He'll learn soon enough. Philippos shares his morning ration with you. You're too nauseated to eat, but he makes you. Eat, he orders, and you obey. The bread tastes like ashes. Everything tastes like ashes now. Your hands smell of rot beneath the bandages. Infection has set in properly. You might lose fingers, might lose the whole hand if it gets worse. But that's tomorrow's problem. Day 3. The Persian fleet comes at dawn again, but something's different. There's hesitation in their formation. The Greeks sense it, a shift in momentum. Yesterday's fighting was closer than they expected. They've lost perhaps 100 ships now over 2 days. That's still only a seventh of their fleet, but their crews are as exhausted as yours. Fatigue is the great equalizer. The Triarch's voice carries through the ship. One more day, we hold one more day. Word has come from Thermopylae. The Spartans still hold the pass, still buying time. You have to hold your line too. The musician's flute begins, but slower than before. A sustainable pace, not a sprint. Drummond has adjusted the rhythm. He knows his crew is breaking. This is about endurance now, not power. You pull. Your hands are so swollen you can barely close them around the oar. You wedge the oar into the crook of your arms and pull with your whole body. It's inefficient, but it's all you have left. Around you, men employ similar desperate techniques. A rower in front of you has tied his hands to his oar with strips of cloth. He can't let go even if he wanted to. The ships engage, ramming, boarding, the same deadly dance as before, but there's less ferocity than day 1. Both sides are worn down to the bone. It's not glorious. It's just grim. The Nemesis trades ramming blows with a Phoenician ship. Neither successfully penetrates the other's hull. You just grind together, oars splintering, men falling. Eventually both disengage, too damaged to continue. The battle becomes a sprawling, confused brawl spread across the straits. Late afternoon, day 3. A runner comes through the deck, a marine carrying news. Thermopylae has fallen. The pass is lost. We withdraw tonight. The words don't process at first. Withdraw. You've held. You've bled for 3 days, and you've held. The Persian fleet hasn't broken through. The mission is complete. You should feel something. Relief, triumph, anything. You feel nothing. Just numb. The rowing continues. The battle isn't over just because you know you'll survive it. The Persians don't know you're withdrawing. You have to keep fighting until nightfall. An hour later, the Persian attack intensifies. They sense something, maybe. One final push. A Persian ship rams the Nemesis amidships, a perfect strike that punches a hole in the hull below the waterline. You feel it immediately. The ship lists to port. Water begins pouring in through the breach. Panic ripples through the rowing deck. Men scramble to escape. Drummond roars, "Back to your benches. Row or we sink here." The Triarch is screaming orders above. If you can make it to shore 50 yards to the buoying coast, you might beach the ship before she goes down. You pull. The water is ankle deep now on the lower rowing benches, the Thalamites rowing with their feet submerged. You pull. The ship is sluggish, responding slowly. The Persian ship tries to disengage, but your ram is caught in their hull. You're locked together. Both ships are sinking. You pull. The water reaches your bench, cold shock as it touches your feet. You pull. The Nemesis beaches. The keel scrapes sand and stones, a grinding shriek, and the ship shudders to a halt. Abandon ship. The order comes, and you don't need to be told twice. You release your oar. It feels like releasing part of yourself, and scramble off your bench. Your legs don't work properly. 3 days of rowing, and you've forgotten how to walk. You stumble, catch yourself, stumble again. The water is up to your knees now. Other men push past you, desperate to reach the deck ladder. You follow. The ladder is packed with bodies. Men climb over each other, trampling the slower ones. You grab a rung, and pain explodes through your ruined hands. You nearly let go but force yourself to hold. One rung, another. Your feet slip on the wet wood. Someone steps on your shoulder, driving you down. You snarl, the first sound of pure rage you've made in 3 days, and haul yourself up anyway. You emerge on deck into chaos. Ships everywhere, Persian and Greek, locked in final combat or fleeing or sinking. The beach is crowded with men wading ashore from beached vessels. The Nemesis is listing heavily now, her port side nearly underwater. You see Philippos helping wounded men off the ship. Klytos is already on the beach, being sick into the surf. You stagger to the rail and simply roll over it into the shallow water. The cold is shocking. You stand, water to your waist, and wade toward shore. Behind you, the Nemesis gives a final groan and settles onto her side. You lie on the beach for what might be minutes or hours. Time has lost meaning. Eventually someone kicks your foot. A naval officer making sure you're alive, not just another corpse washed ashore. On your feet, rower. We're forming up. You roll onto your side and push up with your arms. Your hands don't work, so you use your forearms. Standing is an achievement. You sway, but you're upright. The beach is organizing into units. The naval crews are mixing with scattered army units. Soldiers from Thermopylae, who made it out before the pass fell. Everyone is heading south to Athens, to Salamis, to wherever they can regroup. A medic passes down the line, checking injuries. When he reaches you, he takes one look at your hands and grimaces. "These need to come off," he says, meaning the infected flesh. "Not the hands, not yet, but you'll lose fingers." He pulls out a knife. You don't argue. You don't even feel fear. You're beyond that. He cuts away the dead tissue. You watch, distant, as he removes parts of your own body. It should horrify you. It doesn't. You're too empty for horror. He cauterizes the wounds with a hot bronze tool. The smell of your own burning flesh makes you vomit. He finishes, wraps your hands in clean cloth, the first clean bandages in 3 days, and moves to the next man. "You'll live," he says over his shoulder. It doesn't feel like good news. The withdrawal south begins at dusk. You march or shuffle, really, with the other survivors from the Nemesis. Of the 170 rowers who started 3 days ago, maybe 120 are walking. 20 dead, 32 injured to move. Those 30 are loaded onto carts if there's room, left behind if there isn't. It's brutal mathematics. The army can't wait. The Persian army is sweeping south now that Thermopylae has fallen. Every hour matters. You walk through the night. Your feet bleed. You lost your sandals somewhere in the evacuation and didn't notice. The rocky coastal path shreds your soles. You don't care. It's just more pain. And pain has become your natural state. Philippos walks beside you, supporting you occasionally when you stumble. He doesn't talk. There's nothing to say. Klytos walks ahead, silent and hollow-eyed. The battle broke something in him. It broke something in all of you. By dawn you can see Athens in the distance, or where Athens should be. Instead, you see smoke. Lots of smoke. The city is being evacuated. Everyone is fleeing to Salamis Island, or the Peloponnese. The Persians will be here within days, maybe hours. Everything you fought for, 3 days of bleeding and dying, bought just enough time for Athens to empty itself. Is that victory? It doesn't feel like victory. Salamis Island. You arrive 3 days after Artemisium. 3 days of walking, sleeping in ditches, eating whatever the army scavengers find. You're assigned to a new ship. There aren't enough crews to go around. The Athena's wrath needs rowers. Your hands are barely healed. Infected flesh replaced by raw weeping wounds. You can't grip an oar. The rowing master doesn't care. "We row in 2 days. Figure it out." So you do. Philippos is assigned to the same ship, Small mercy. Klytos is assigned elsewhere. You don't see him again. The crew is a patchwork, survivors from Artemisium mixed with fresh recruits who've never rode in combat. You can tell them apart instantly. The veterans move with grim purpose, the recruits with nervous energy. You remember being nervous. That was a lifetime ago. 4 days in the past. The talk everywhere is of the coming battle. The Persian fleet is entering the Saronic Gulf, heading for Salamis. This will be the decisive engagement. Either the Greek fleet wins, or Greece falls. Simple as that. You hear the odds. Maybe 380 Greek ships against 600 Persian. Better than Artemisium, where it was closer to 270 against 700. The Persians lost ships in storms after Artemisium. Nature fought for Greece when men couldn't. You sit on the deck of the Athena's Wrath and watch the sun set over the strait. Tomorrow or the next day you'll row into battle again. Your hands are destroyed. Your back is torn. Your body is broken. But you'll row. What else is there to do? The Persian fleet enters the strait at dawn. You're at your rowing bench on the Athena's Wrath when the lookout cries out. Through your oar port you see them, a massive fleet, organized into squadrons, moving with terrifying precision. But something is different from Artemisium. Here, the strait is even narrower. The Persians can't spread out. They're forced into a confined space where their numbers don't matter as much. The Greek strategos, the Themistocles, has chosen his battlefield well. The Persian ships crowd together, getting in each other's way. Greek ships can maneuver more freely in tight spaces. You're built for this. The Triarch explains the strategy to the deck. We let them bunch up in the narrows, then we strike from the flanks. Ramming tactics, same as Artemisium. But this time, the terrain favors us. You wrap your hands around your oar. You've developed a technique, using cloth padding and gripping with what's left of your palms rather than fingers. It works, barely. The pain is constant but manageable. Pain is your companion now. The musician takes his position. The familiar flute appears. You almost laugh. Almost. The same instrument that tortured you for 3 days at Artemisium. Now it's comforting, because at least you know what's coming. The battle begins. Tate, tate, tate. You pull. Your ruined hands scream, but you pull. The Athena's Wrath surges forward into the mass of Persian ships. The Athena's Wrath rams a Phoenician ship, perfect strike, right at the waterline. The impact throws you forward, but you brace and keep your seat. The enemy ship starts taking water immediately. Back oars. You reverse, and the ship breaks free cleanly. The Phoenician vessel lists heavily, beginning its death slide. You've killed a ship full of men with your rowing. You feel nothing about it. It's just mechanics now. Strike, withdraw, find the next target. The strait is chaos, but organized chaos. Greek ships move in squadrons, supporting each other, while Persian ships crowd and collide with their own forces. You see a Persian ship accidentally ram one of its allies while trying to maneuver. The advantage of fighting in a confined space with fewer, more maneuverable ships becomes clear. You're not winning because you're better sailors. You're winning because the battlefield is designed for your tactics. Another ram, another strike. The Athena's Wrath's bronze ram is doing its job, punching holes in enemy hulls, but it takes a toll. Each impact rattles your bones. Your back, already injured from Artemisium, sends spikes of pain through you with every collision. You grit your teeth and keep pulling. Around you, the new recruits are learning fast. Terror is an excellent teacher. The veteran rowers set the pace, and the recruits match it or die. It's that simple. Through your oar port, you glimpse Persian soldiers in the water, drowning in their armor. Some try to swim to shore. It's not far, maybe 200 yards, but most don't make it. Midday. The battle has raged for hours. You've lost count of how many enemy ships you've rammed. 5? 10? The Athena's Wrath has taken damage too. The hull is cracked in places, water seeping in slowly but not fast enough to matter yet. The ship is holding together. So are you, barely. Your hands have gone numb again. Blessing and curse. You can't feel the pain. but you also can't feel if you're gripping properly. You've learned to compensate, watching your oar position constantly. The Persian fleet is breaking. You can feel it in the change of tactics, less aggression, more defensive maneuvering. They're trying to withdraw, but the Greek fleet isn't letting them. You trap them against the shore, ram them until they sink or surrender. It's methodical slaughter now, not battle. Part of you recognizes this should trouble you. It doesn't. These are the men whose empire tried to erase yours. Let them drown. A Persian noble ship, you can tell by the gold trim and purple sails, tries to break through the Greek line near your position. The Triarch spots it and orders an intercept course. Hard to starboard, ram course. The ship turns sharply. You pull harder on the right side, less on the left, helping the turn. The Athena's wrath lines up perfectly. The ram strikes the noble ship's stern, crunching through the ornate woodwork. You hear screaming from above, important people dying. The Triarch is laughing. You're not. You're just pulling. Late afternoon. The Persian fleet is in full retreat, ships trying to escape the strait, crowding the narrow exit, blocking each other. The Greek fleet pursues, but carefully. No need to risk ships now that victory is clear. The Triarch gives the order to stand down. The rowing stops. The sudden silence is deafening, after hours of the flute's rhythm and Drummond's shouting. You sit, hands still gripping the oar, unable to process that it's over. Around you, men collapse. Some weep, some laugh, some just stare. You do nothing, feel nothing, just sit. Drummond walks the aisle, checking his crew. When he reaches you, he stops, looks at your hands, your face, the blank expression. You rowed well, Potter, he says. It's the first compliment he's given anyone. You nod, but don't respond. He moves on. Philippos leans over from his bench. We won, he says, as if you might not have noticed. You nod, again. Won, the word means something. Probably. You're too exhausted to figure out what. The Athena's wrath anchors in the strait, among the other victorious ships. Around you, the water is thick with debris, shattered hulls, oars, bodies, oil from burning ships, creating rainbow patterns on the surface. The sunset turns everything orange and red, beautiful, in a terrible way. You're allowed on deck. You climb up slowly, your legs wobbling. The deck is crowded with celebrating men. You find a quiet spot near the stern, and sit, just sit, and stare at the water. Night falls over Salamis. The fleet remains at anchor, too exhausted to do more than tend wounds and count losses. The Greek casualties are relatively light, maybe 40 ships lost, compared to over 300 Persian vessels destroyed or captured. It's a decisive victory, perhaps the most important in Greek history. You should care about this. Historians will remember this day, but all you can think about is your hands, your pain, the faces of men drowning. Food is distributed, real food, not hard bread, roasted fish, fresh bread, wine. Your share sits beside you, untouched. You can't make your hands work well enough to eat. Philippos notices and helps you, tearing the bread into small pieces, feeding you like a child. You accept this without shame. Shame requires energy you don't have. You chew mechanically, swallow, continue. The food tastes like nothing. A naval officer comes by, recording names of the crew for commendations. Name, he asks. You tell him. He writes it down. You fought at Artemisium too. You nod. He makes a note. The assembly will recognize this. There will be honors. You nod again. Honors. What are honors to ruined hands? He moves on, satisfied he's done his duty. Around you, men are already telling stories of the battle, exaggerating their roles, building legends. You don't have a story to tell. You have gaps in your memory where there should be battle. Just rowing, pain, rowing, pain. Morning comes. The fleet prepares to return to Athens, or what's left of it. The Persians occupied the city, while the fleet fought at Salamis. Xerxes himself watched the battle from a throne on the shore, watching his navy destroyed. Now he's retreating, his invasion broken. The land army will withdraw north. Greece is saved. You've won the war. It feels like losing. You're given 3 days leave when the fleet makes port at Piraeus, Athens harbor. 3 days to go home, see what remains, recover before the next campaign. You walk through Athens, and its devastation. The Persians burned everything: temples, homes, workshops. Your pottery shop is ash. The kiln you spent years building is rubble. You stand in the ruins of your life's work and feel nothing. It's just more wreckage, and you've seen so much wreckage it all blends together. Your family evacuated to Trozen. You learn from a neighbor who stayed to guard ruins. They're alive. That's something. You don't have the energy to travel to Trozen, so you send word. Alive, wounded, recovering. You'll see them when you can. The neighbor looks at your hands, your face, and doesn't ask what happened. Everyone in Athens has their own horror story now. Yours isn't special. You find an empty corner of what used to be someone's house and sleep for 2 days straight. Day 3 of your leave. You force yourself to move, to function. Your hands need proper medical care. You find a physician, a man who stayed in Athens to treat the returning wounded. He unwraps your hands and his face goes carefully neutral. You should have come 2 weeks ago, he says. The infection has done permanent damage. He cleans the wounds properly, applies honey and wine as disinfectant, rewraps them with clean linen. You'll keep the hands, most of your fingers too, but the grip strength is gone. The muscle is too damaged. You'll never work clay again. The words should hurt. They don't. You already knew. You felt it the first time you tried to make a fist at Artemisium. The physician prescribes rest, fresh food, sunshine, things you don't have access to. You thank him and leave. Outside, you sit on a broken wall and look at your bandaged hands. Not a potter anymore. Just a rower. That's your skill now. That's what the war made you. A marine from the Athena's Wrath finds you that afternoon. You're wanted back at the ship. New orders. We sail in 2 days. 2 days instead of 3. The war doesn't care about your leave. You nod and stand. The marine looks at you with something like pity. You should eat something, he says. You nod again. You should do lots of things. You follow him back to Piraeus, back to the ship, back to the only life you have now. The Persian land army has retreated north, but scattered garrisons remain. The war isn't over, just paused. The fleet's new orders: patrol the Aegean, protect supply lines, support land forces. It's not glory work, but it's necessary. You sail with the Athena's Wrath, part of a squadron of 30 ships. The seas are relatively calm. The rowing is routine. You settle into the work, your damaged hands adapting. You develop new techniques, using rope loops around your wrists to help hold the oar, bracing it against your forearms. It's ugly, but effective. Weeks pass, then months. Winter comes, and the fleet beaches for the season. You spend the winter in Piraeus, sleeping in a barracks with other rowers. It's a strange existence, not civilian, not fully military, just waiting, waiting for spring, waiting for the war to resume, waiting for something that feels like normalcy to return. It doesn't. You receive letters from your family in Troezen. They're safe. They want you to come visit. You write back, can't, fleet duties. The truth is you don't want to see them. Don't want them to see what you've become. Your mother wouldn't recognize this hollow-eyed stranger with ruined hands. Better they remember the potter who left Athens, not the thing that came back. Philippos visits sometimes. You drink wine together, mostly in silence. What is there to say? You both know what you've seen. Words can't touch it. Cleitos, you learn, drowned himself in the harbor 2 months after Salamis. Nobody was surprised. Spring 479 BCE. The fleet mobilizes. The Persian garrison at Byzantium needs to be cleared. You sail north with the Athena's Wrath, part of a larger fleet. The campaign is nothing like Artemisium or Salamis, just blockade duty, cutting supply lines, occasional skirmishes. It's boring mostly. Long days of rowing to position, anchoring, waiting, rowing again. You're good at it, the best at it, maybe. You've learned to turn off your mind and just pull, hour after hour, day after day. The other rowers complain of boredom. You prefer it. Boredom means nobody's dying. A new rower joins your bench section, a boy named Theron, barely 18. He asks questions constantly. Where were you stationed? Did you fight at Salamis? What was Artemisium like? You give short answers, discouraging further conversation. But he's persistent in the way young men are, seeking stories to turn into glory. Finally, one evening, he asks, what's it really like? Battle, I mean. You look at him for a long moment. It's rowing until your hands bleed. Then rowing more. He waits for more. War stories, heroics, something meaningful. You don't elaborate. That's the truth. That's all there is. He stops asking questions after that. The campaign ends in summer. Byzantium falls to the Greek army. The fleet's job was support, nothing more. You return to Athens, to the rebuilding city. You're given another month's leave. Athens is rebuilding. The Acropolis is being cleared of rubble. Homes are being reconstructed. Life is returning. Slowly. You walk through your old neighborhood and it's half familiar. Some buildings rebuilt, others still ruins. Your workshop lot is occupied now. Someone else is building there. You don't mind. You have no use for it anymore. Your family has returned from Trozen. You can't avoid them any longer. You go to the house they've rented. Your old home is still rubble. Your mother opens the door. She gasps when she sees you. My son, she says, and pulls you into an embrace. You stand rigid, arms at your sides, unable to return it. She feels it, the wrongness in you, and pulls back. She takes your face in her hands, studies you, and starts crying. What did they do to you? You don't answer. What would you say? That war made you into this? That 3 days at Artemisium killed the son she remembers? You sit at their table. Your father asks about the fleet, the campaigns, keeping conversation neutral. Your younger sister stares at your hands, fascinated and horrified. You eat the meal your mother prepared, real food, home cooking. It tastes like nothing. Everything tastes like nothing now. You stay one night. In the morning you tell them you have to return to duty. It's a lie. You have 3 more weeks of leave. But you can't stay here, pretending to be someone you're not. You spend the rest of your leave at the barracks. It's easier there. Nobody expects you to be anything other than what you are. The routine is comforting. Wake, exercise, maintain equipment, eat, sleep. Some of the other veterans understand. They're the same, hollowed out, functional, unable to return to civilian life. You form a quiet community of silence, men who share space without demanding connection. An officer comes one day with news. The fleet is forming a permanent navy. Before the Persian Wars, Athens had no standing naval force. Now the Assembly has voted to maintain one. Professional rowers will receive regular pay, housing, training. It's a job, a career. You volunteer immediately. So does Philippos. So do most of the Artemisium and Salamis survivors. Where else would you go? The contract is 5 years. 5 years of rowing, patrolling, showing force. In exchange, steady pay, food, shelter. You sign with your ruined hands, the signature illegible. The officer doesn't care. Welcome to the Athenian Navy, he says. It's official now. You're not a potter who became a rower. You're a rower, period. The transformation is complete. Training intensifies. New recruits need to be brought up to standard. You're assigned as an instructor, teaching rowing technique to boys who think war is glory. You show them the grip, the stroke, the rhythm. You don't tell them about Artemisium. What good would it do? They'll learn, or they'll die. That's how it works. Year 2 of your contract. 478 BCE. The Delian League forms Athens, leading a coalition of Greek city-states to continue the war against Persia. The navy expands. More ships, more crews. You're promoted to rowing master on a new trireme, the democracy. It's an honor, they say. More responsibility. You train your crew with the same mechanical efficiency you brought to everything else. They learn fast, or they're replaced. You don't have patience for incompetence. Can't afford it. The fleet campaigns in the eastern Aegean, liberating Greek cities from Persian control. It's not the desperate defense of Artemisium. It's calculated, professional warfare. You win more often than you lose. Your crew becomes efficient, feared even. Other ships request tactics advice. You give it. You're good at this. Maybe it's the only thing you're good at now. A storm hits during one campaign. The democracy rides it out. But a newer ship, the Ares, capsizes. You watch men drown, just like at Artemisium and Salamis. Your crew expects you to react, to order rescue attempts. You calculate the risk and order them to hold position. The storm is too dangerous. They follow your orders, but some look at you differently afterward. Cold, they think. Heartless. Maybe they're right. You've learned the most important rule. You can't save everyone. Better to save your own crew than lose everyone trying to rescue the already doomed. Year 3, 477 BCE. The campaigns continue. You're 30 now, old for a rower, ancient for active combat duty. But you're rowing master, not regular crew. Your job is leadership, not endurance. Though you still row when needed, demonstrating technique, filling in for casualties. You're better at it now with ruined hands than you were before with whole ones. Pain taught you efficiency. Letters arrive from Athens. Your sister has married. Your father died. Age and grief. The letter says, your mother wants you to come home for the funeral rites. You request leave. It's denied. Active campaign. You write a letter expressing sorrow. Send money for the rites. It's inadequate. You know it. What else can you do? The navy is your life now. Athens is just a city you defend from a distance. Philippos visits your ship during a port call. He's rowing master on the Justice. You drink together on the dock watching the sunset. Do you ever think about going back? He asks. To pottery, I mean. Or something else. You look at your hands, scarred and twisted. Can't, you say. He nods, understanding. Do you want to? He asks. You think about it. No, you admit. This is what I know now. He nods again. Me too. You sit in comfortable silence, two men who found purpose in destruction and can't figure out how to exist without it. Year 4, 476 BCE. A new threat emerges, pirates in the Aegean, taking advantage of the power vacuum left by Persian withdrawal. The fleet shifts from military campaigns to security operations. You hunt pirate ships, protect merchant vessels, patrol trade routes. It's different work. Pirates are desperate, unpredictable. They don't follow traditional combat rules. They board, they burn, they run. Your crew adapts, learns. You become as ruthless as your enemies. Pirates captured alive face execution. You don't personally kill them, but you order it. The math is simple. Mercy to pirates means death to merchants. You choose merchants. A young officer questions your decision to execute a captured pirate crew. They surrendered, he argues. Doesn't matter, you respond. They're pirates. They chose this. The officer is fresh from Athens, full of philosophy and ethics. You don't argue philosophy. You just do what works. The pirates are executed. The officer looks at you with horror and contempt. You don't care. He'll learn or he'll die, or he'll leave the navy. Not your problem. That night, you dream of Artemisium for the first time in years. You're rowing, and the water turns to blood, and you keep rowing because stopping means drowning. You wake gasping, disoriented. The dreams are coming back. You thought you'd buried them. Apparently not deep enough. Year 5, 475 BCE. Your contract ends. You're offered promotion to Triarch, full ship command. It's a political position as much as military. You'd command a ship, but you'd also need to navigate assembly politics, argue for funding, schmooze with wealthy citizens who fund ship construction. You refuse. Politics isn't your skill. Rowing is, killing is, strategy is, but not politics. Instead, you sign another 5-year contract as rowing master. Same job, same ship, same life. You're comfortable here. Comfortable isn't the right word. You're functional here. You know what's expected. You can deliver it. Philippos is promoted to Triarch. He accepts. You congratulate him sincerely. He's better with people than you are. He can navigate the political waters. Should try it, he says. Command suits you. You shake your head. I'm a rower. Let me row. He understands. You've both changed since Artemisium, but in different ways. He adapted, grew, became something new. You just became more of what Artemisium made you. Efficient, cold, functional. New crews arrive. Boys who weren't even born when Artemisium happened. To them, it's ancient history. They've never rode in combat. The Persians are distant, defeated. They treat this like a job, not a war. You train them anyway, preparing them for battles that may never come. Better to prepare for violence and not need it, than need it and not be prepared. Artemisium taught you that. Years pass. 474, 473, 472 BCE. Patrol, train, patrol, train. The rhythm of peacetime military service. Occasional pirate engagements, nothing major. Your crew becomes the most efficient in the fleet. Other rowing masters study your techniques. You're asked to write training manuals. You refuse. You're not a writer, but you agree to lecture at the Naval Academy they're building. Once a month you stand before fresh-faced recruits and teach the mechanics of naval warfare. You don't tell stories, you teach facts. How to maintain rhythm in rough seas. How to execute a ram strike. How to back oars under fire. Practical knowledge, nothing more. Your mother dies. You're granted leave for the funeral. You go. Your sister is there with her husband and a child. Your nephew, who you've never met. He's 3 years old, afraid of you. Children always are. You look like a monster to them, scarred and hard. The funeral is traditional. You say the proper words, perform the proper rites. Your sister tries to talk to you afterward. Will you stay? Get to know your nephew. You shake your head. I have duty. She looks disappointed but not surprised. You're all I have left, she says. I know, you respond. I'm sorry. You mean it. But you still leave the next day. Back at Piraeus, you request assignment to the most distant patrol route. The officer granting assignments looks at you curiously, running from something. Yes, you answer honestly. He doesn't ask what. He just assigns you to the Eastern Aegean Patrol. 3 months at sea, minimal port calls. The Eastern Aegean Patrol is exactly what you need. Empty horizon, routine work, minimal human interaction. Your crew learns to leave you alone unless duty requires conversation. You stand at the stern for hours, watching the water, thinking about nothing, or trying to. The memories are getting stronger, not weaker. 20 years since Artemisium. You remember every detail, the smell, the sound, the faces of dying men. You thought time would fade it. Instead, it's crystallizing, becoming more vivid. You're rowing one day, demonstrating technique for a new recruit who's struggling. The rhythm catches you wrong, transports you. Suddenly you're not on the Democracy in peaceful waters. You're on the Nemesis at Artemisium, blood on your hands, Persians everywhere, the flute screaming that rhythm into your soul. You miss a stroke, nearly drop the oar. The recruit stares at you, shocked. The rowing master never makes mistakes. You recover, finish the demonstration, dismiss him curtly. That night, you sit on deck and shake for an hour, unable to stop. It's happening more often. Sounds, smells, rhythms, they pull you back. You're losing time, losing present awareness. You're becoming unreliable, and you know it. You should report it, should request medical evaluation. You don't. What would you do if you couldn't row? Who would you be? You request a meeting with the fleet medical officer. It takes weeks to arrange. You're at sea. He's in Athens. Finally, you return to port and sit across from him in a small office. He's an older man, a physician who's seen war. You explain haltingly about the memories, the flashbacks, the shaking. He listens without judgment. What you describe is not uncommon, he says. I've seen it in many veterans, particularly those who fought at Artemisium or Salamis. The soul is wounded, even when the body heals. He has no cure, no medicine for wounded souls. He recommends rest, distance from the fleet, returning to civilian life. You've served long enough, he says. 20 years. You've earned peace. You almost laugh. Peace. What would you do with peace? You don't know how to exist outside the fleet. You thank him and leave. The report he files clears you for continued duty, but recommends reduced responsibilities. You ignore it. You can still do your job. You just have to be careful about triggering memories. But the memories don't care about careful. They come when they want. You're in port one day, when a ship's musician practices on his flute. The tune is different, but the rhythm, ta-te, 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 hits you like a physical blow. You're back in the rowing deck, hands bleeding, men screaming. You come back to yourself sitting on the ground, not sure how you got there. Sailors stare at you. You stand, brush yourself off, walk away. The whispers follow you. The fleet commander calls you to a private meeting. He's an old admiral, fought in the Persian Wars himself. He gets straight to the point. You're one of my best rowing masters. But the men are concerned. The episodes. They're worried you'll freeze during combat, get people killed. You nod. It's a fair concern. I don't freeze during combat, you say. Only during peacetime, when there's time to remember. He considers this. Can you guarantee that? You can't. You don't answer. He sighs. I'm reassigning you. Shore duty, training command. You'll run the rowing academy, train new recruits. No sea time. It's a demotion in everything but name. You accept it. What choice do you have? Shore duty is strange. You have an office, a desk, responsibilities that don't involve immediate life or death decisions. You teach classes, review training reports, manage instructors. It's important work. It's necessary work. You hate it. You're a rower who doesn't row, a warrior who doesn't fight. You're being put out to pasture at 40 because your mind is broken. The younger instructors treat you with cautious respect, like you're a dangerous relic. Maybe you are. You develop a routine. Wake, work, eat, sleep. No variation. Routine keeps the memories at bay. Mostly, you avoid the docks when ships are rowing. The sound of oars in water is too triggering. You avoid musicians. You avoid anything that might transport you back to Artemisium. 5 years of shore duty. You're 45 now, old for ancient Greece, ancient for a naval veteran. You've trained hundreds of rowers. The academy is efficient, successful. You've written manuals that are used fleet-wide. You've done good work, and you're dying inside, slowly, day by day. The routines keep you functional but not alive. You're a mechanism, performing duties because that's what mechanisms do. One day, a visitor arrives at the academy, Philippos, now retired himself. He's become a merchant, runs a small fleet of trading ships. He's put on weight, looks healthy, looks happy. He takes one look at you, and his face falls. By the gods, what happened to you? You shrug. Shore duty. He doesn't accept that. He takes you to a tavern, forces wine on you, makes you talk, and slowly, haltingly, you do. About the flashbacks, the memories, the way Artemisium won't let you go. He listens, really listens. You need to go back, he says finally. You don't understand. Back where? Artemisium. The actual place. Face it. You shake your head. Impossible. I can arrange it, he says. I have a ship heading that way next month. Come with me. See the straits in peacetime. Maybe it'll help. You want to refuse. But something in you, some tiny spark that's not quite dead, wonders if he's right. I'll think about it, you say. He nods. Don't think too long. Life's short enough, without wasting it as a living ghost. You board Philippos's merchant ship a month later. It's strange being on a ship as a passenger, not crew. You stand at the rail and watch the rowers work. They're not military, just merchant crew, rowing for pay. Their technique is sloppy by naval standards, but effective enough. The rhythm is different from warships. Slower, steadier, sustainable, over long distances, not the killing sprint of combat rowing. You watch and remember when you were 23, pulling that oar at Artemisium, thinking you might die. You did die, in a way. The potter died. This shell is what remained. The voyage takes 2 days. You reach the straits at Artemisium at dawn, and your heart hammers in your chest. The water is calm, blue, peaceful, beautiful, even. It looks nothing like the blood-churned chaos you remember. The straits are narrow here, just as they were. The island of Euboea, to the east. mainland Greece to the west. This is where 200 Greek ships held 700 Persian vessels. This is where you became what you are. Philippos anchors in a cove, maybe the same one where the Nemesis beached that night, 42 years ago. You go ashore. Your legs are unsteady. You walk along the beach, and it's just a beach. Sand, stones, nothing special. No markers, no monuments. Nobody remembers this place. Why would they? Salamis is the famous victory. Artemisium is the forgotten battle. You sit on the beach for hours. Philippos joins you after a while, sits beside you in silence. Finally, you speak. I thought coming here would, I don't know, change something. But it's just a beach. He nods. What were you hoping for? You consider this. I wanted to feel like it meant something. Like the pain meant something. But nobody even remembers. There's no monument, no marker. We bled here, and nobody cares. Philippos is quiet for a moment. Then I remember. You remember. The men who died here, they knew. The ones who lived, they knew. History might not remember Artemisium, but we held the line for 3 days. We bought time for Athens to evacuate, for the fleet to prepare for Salamis. Without us, Greece falls. Does it matter if there's a monument? We know what we did. You want to argue, but you can't. He's right. You've been waiting for external validation of your suffering, for someone to tell you it mattered. But the only validation that matters is your own. You know what happened here. You know what it cost. Maybe that's enough. Maybe it has to be. That night, you camp on the beach. You light a fire and sit beside it, staring at the flames. And for the first time in decades, you tell the stories. You talk about the first day, the fear, the pain, about Bias dying, and the man who took his oar, about the sinking ship and wading to shore. Philippos listens, adds his own stories. You talk through the night, speaking the unspeakable, finally letting the poison out. Morning comes. You wake on the beach, stiff and cold, but something is different, lighter. The memories are still there. They'll always be there, but their grip has loosened. You've spoken them aloud, made them real, and somehow that made them smaller. They're not monsters lurking in silence anymore. They're just memories, terrible, but survivable. You walk the beach one more time before leaving. You find a smooth stone, gray with white flecks, worn by the sea. You pocket it. A talisman, a reminder. This is where you died, and this is where you lived. Both true, both real. You board Philippos's ship, and take one last look at the straits. Goodbye, you whisper. You're not sure who you're saying it to. The boy you were, the men who died, yourself, maybe all of them. The return voyage to Athens is different. You talk with the crew, learning their names, their stories. Small connections, but connections nonetheless. You've spent 20 years walled off from humanity. Maybe it's time to try being human again. It's terrifying, but less terrifying than continuing as you were. Philippos notices the change and smiles. Told you it might help. You nod. Thank you, you say, meaning it, for not giving up on me. Never, he responds. Brothers in oars. You grip his shoulder, unable to say more, but the gesture says enough. Back in Athens, you resign from the Naval Training Command. Not in bitterness or defeat, but because you're done. You've given the Navy 25 years. That's enough. The commander accepts your resignation with respect and gratitude. The fleet wouldn't exist without men like you, he says. You nod. You know. But it's time for something else. You're not sure what, but something. You visit your sister. It's awkward. Decades of distance can't be bridged in an afternoon. But you try. You meet your nephew, now a young man himself. You tell him carefully about the war. Not the horror, not the trauma, but the purpose. Why it mattered. What it cost. He listens respectfully. Your sister cries a little. I thought I'd lost you, she says. You did, you admit. But I'm trying to come back. It's not a happy reunion. Too much time, too much damage. But it's a start. You rent a small house near Piraeus. Nothing fancy, just a room, a courtyard, A view of the sea. You can't leave the sea entirely. It's in your blood now. You sit in your courtyard and work with clay for the first time in 25 years. Your ruined hands can't throw pots anymore. The fine motor control is gone, but you can make simple bowls, rough and crude, but functional. It's not the craft you once knew, but it's something. Creation instead of destruction. That's new. Philippos visits regularly. Other veterans too, men from Artemisium and Salamis who survived and struggled and are trying to find their way in peace. You form a loose community, meeting weekly, talking or not talking, just being together. You understand each other in ways civilians never could. Years pass. You're 50 now, an old man by ancient standards. You've outlived most of your comrades from Artemisium. Philippos is still alive, still visiting, but moving slower. You're both ancient now, survivors of a war that's become history. Young men in the Agora talk about the Persian Wars like their mythology. 50 years since Artemisium. They don't understand it was real, that you were there, that it cost everything. A young historian visits you one day. He's writing a history of the Persian Wars. He's interviewed dozens of veterans, collecting stories. He's heard about you, the potter who became a rowing master, who fought at Artemisium and Salamis. He wants your story. At first you refuse. What's the point? Who cares about one rower among thousands? But he persists. Individual stories make history real, he says. Without them it's just dates and numbers. So you tell him, not everything. Some things can't be spoken, even now. But you tell him about the 3 days at Artemisium, about the pain, the blood, the desperation, about holding the line against impossible odds, about the men who died, about the cost of victory. He writes frantically, filling scrolls. When you finish, he looks at you with something like awe. This needs to be remembered, he says. People need to know what you did. You shrug. Maybe, but I didn't do it for history. I did it because there was no choice. You do what you have to do. That's all. You're 55 when Philippos dies. Age. The physician says, but you know better. The war took him too, just slowly. You stand at his funeral and remember the young scared veteran who sat beside you at Artemisium, who taught you to survive, who became your anchor through the worst years. The priest talks about his life. Successful merchant, respected citizen, devoted family man. All true. But you remember him as a rower, bloody hands gripping an oar, refusing to quit. That's who he really was. After the funeral, you return to Artemisium one last time. You're too old for the journey, really, but you make it. You stand on the beach with his ashes and speak to the empty air. We held the line, brother. Remember? 3 days. We held the line. You scatter his ashes in the water, in the straits where you both became what you were. It seems right. Let him rest here, where it all began. You stay on the beach for 3 days. The same 3 days, in a way. You eat little, sleep less. You remember everything, every face, every name, every death. You speak them aloud to the water, to the wind, to whoever might be listening. Bias, Klytos, Droman, the rowing master whose name you never learned. All the nameless rowers who pulled oars beside you and died without acknowledgement. You name them, as many as you can remember. Someone should. You're 60 when the illness comes. Age, the physician says. Everything wears out eventually. You've had a good run, survived the Persian Wars, survived the aftermath, made it further than most. You're not afraid of death. You've been close to it too many times to fear it now. It's almost familiar. An old enemy become companion. You put your affairs in order. Your house and possessions go to your sister's son, your nephew, now a man with children of his own. The crude pottery you've made over the years, you give to the veterans group. Small things, but they'll understand. The gray stone from Artemisium, you keep. That's going with you. You spend your last weeks in your courtyard, sitting in the sun, watching the sea. Sometimes former students visit, Navy men who want to pay respects. You talk with them about rowing, about discipline, about the importance of their work. You don't talk about war. Let them keep their innocence as long as they can. Sometimes veterans visit, and you do talk about war. Quietly, without drama, just sharing what was. One evening, as the sun sets over the sea, you think about the boy you were. 23, a potter, terrified on a rowing deck at Artemisium. You think about all the years between then and now, the pain, the loss, the slow crawl back towards something like peace. Was it worth it? You don't know, but you lived it. That counts for something. Your last morning comes. You wake in your courtyard. You've been sleeping there, closer to the sky, to the sea. The dawn is beautiful, orange and pink. You've seen thousands of dawns, but this one is different. Final. You know it without being told. Your breathing is shallow, labored. Your body is ready to stop. Your nephew sits with you. You asked him to stay. You don't want to die alone, but you also don't want a crowd. Just one person, to close your eyes and say the proper words. He holds your hand, your scarred, ruined, beautiful hand that pulled oars and shaped clay and held weapons and finally, learned to hold another human being. Tell them, you whisper. He leans close. Tell who? The young ones, the ones who'll row after me. Tell them. You pause, gathering strength. Tell them it's worth it, defending what matters. But also tell them, peace is worth fighting for too. Harder than war, but worth it. He nods, tears on his face. You smile slightly. The gray stone from Artemisium is in your other hand. You've held it every day for years. It's smooth, familiar, comforting. You're going back there, in a way. Back to that beach where the boy died and the survivor was born. Full circle. The sun rises. The sea glitters in the morning light. You close your eyes. Behind your lids you see them, Bias and Clytos and Dramon, and all the nameless faces, waiting, and Philippos, grinning, holding an oar. Took you long enough, he says. You smile. You stop breathing. Your nephew sits with you as the morning comes, holding your hand, letting you go. The gray stone falls from your other hand and rolls across the courtyard stones. Just a stone again, just a stone. But you are remembered. The historian published his work. Your story survived. The forgotten battle of Artemisium, where you held the line, where you became what you were. People read about you, about the 3 days that saved Greece. You didn't want glory, you didn't get it, but you got something better. You got truth. Your story, told honestly. The pain and the purpose, the cost and the meaning. And centuries later, across time, someone listens to your story and understands. The forgotten battle remembered, the nameless rower named. You held the line. We remember. So, there you have it. The forgotten battle of Artemisium. The 3 days that nobody remembers but that saved everything. You were there. You held the line. You paid the price in blood and sanity and years of slow healing. But you held. History remembers Salamis. History remembers Thermopylae. But you remember Artemisium. The rowing deck at dawn. The blood on your hands. The men who died beside you. The 42 years it took to find peace. Now dim the lights. Close your eyes. Feel the gentle rocking of a ship at anchor. Hear the water lapping against the hull. You're safe now. The war is over. The rowing is done. Rest, ancient warrior. You've earned it. Rest well. And remember, you held the line. That's enough. That's everything. Until next time, good night.